this Thursday, August the 18th. We are meeting at 6 p.m. in the Commission chambers of the Municipal and Safety Building. And with our meeting called to order, I'll invite Pastor Jim Powell to come and bring our invocation. Would you please stand?
Let's pray together. Father, we thank you for this city commission. We thank you for this city. We thank you that you oversee all things. Lord, we know that is true. We thank you for the changes in this community, the people you're drawing to our community. We pray for wisdom, for leadership. We thank you for the role of government that you've instituted. We just pray for wisdom, for foresight. We thank you for the many categories this commission touches, many of which the citizens don't see. So we just pray, Lord, that you would give the guidance necessary, the unity required, and you would receive glory. We ask you to help us to seek the welfare of the city you've sent us, and this is where you've put us. And we're so thankful to be in Johnston City, Tennessee. And so we just ask that as you've placed us here, you would receive glory as we serve you, and this commission would do the work you've entrusted to them. We pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. If you'll turn and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, if I may ask for some changes in the agenda, we have received information that items on the consent agenda, items 6.1-1 through 6.1-5, we would like to request that that be removed and be considered at your September meeting. We have, as you're aware, we've recently taken back over the responsibilities for the CDBG funds, and we are in the process of that being transferred from the Housing Authority to the city. And there were some of those numbers that were inaccurate, so we would ask that we be able to go back and correct those and bring them back to you.
Is there a motion to adjust the agenda accordingly?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
And Commission, I may ask one other change in the agenda. Item 6.1.8, consider approval to terminate the contract with the Tennessee Department of Corrections for the Johnston City Detention Facility. I would ask that it be moved to item 8.2 under other. We have a presentation, and rather than having to consider it separately, I think if we move it to other, then we can do the presentation.
There's a motion to reorder the agenda.
So moved.
Second, a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Next order of business is the consideration of approval of the minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting on Thursday, August 4th.
Is there a motion or modifications?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Abstain.
Next order of business is consideration or presentation of a proclamation recognizing International Overdose Awareness Day.
Whereas North America experiences the highest drug-related mortality rate in the world, accounting for 1 in 4 drug-related deaths globally, and whereas the city of Johnston City, Tennessee affirms and acknowledges the harms and hardships caused by drug overdose across the world, nation, state, and in our own communities, whereas in 2019, drug overdoses claimed the lives of more than 28 residents of Washington County, Tennessee, together with many more affected forever. And whereas the people affected by overdose are our sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, and deserving of our love, compassion, and support. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is a global effort to remember loved ones lost to overdose and to end the stigma of drug-related deaths. Whereas the city resolves to play its part in reducing the toll of overdose in the community. Now, therefore, I, Joe Wise, the mayor of the city of Johnson City, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2022 as International Overdose Awareness Day. I'll present this to you, and I'll thank you for your work, and I'll give you the microphone for any comments.
First of all, on the behalf of Inside Alliance, I do want to thank you guys for your continued support in this proclamation. Just an update on those numbers. In 2020, the state of Tennessee had a total of 3,032 deaths due to overdose and nearly 26,000 non-fatal overdoses reported in outpatient and inpatient facilities. So overdose is definitely an issue that is on the rise in our community. So the question then becomes, what can we do about it? And a favorite of mine, Nelson Mandela, once said, education is the most powerful tool which you have to change the world. And that's why we just believe in sparking conversations that spread awareness in our community. And that's why days like National Overdose Awareness Day is so important, because it gets those conversations started and it has people thinking about it and being aware of it. In that way, we can produce real change for our community. Inside Alliance, we have so many programs, not just education and prevention, but also programs for recovery. So if you know anybody who is suffering from substance misuse or abuse, have them contact us so that we can provide them the support and resources they need. But on top of that, if you are a part of an organization or a group that is interested in, continuing to cultivate change in Washington County, also contact us so that we can see how we can all work together to hopefully see those numbers decrease eventually. Thank you again, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
The next order of business is a presentation from Space. I think we have Heath Quinn.
Good evening. It's good to see everyone. Thank you for allowing me to come back tonight and give you an update on this year that we just wrapped up, and then a little preview of what we plan to do. Can you hear me okay?
No,
Yeah,
it's a
can you
little,
hear?
Yeah,
little
it doesn't-
quiet.
Not sure if there's... Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So I want to give you a little bit of an update of what happened last year and kind of the results of that year, as well as a preview of what we'll do this coming year and expect to see as far as success in fiscal year 23. Quick recap, though. As you know, Space is a nonprofit organization, and we represent Northeast Tennessee as part of the state of Tennessee's entrepreneurial innovation effort through the Economic Development Agency of the state government for all of Northeast Tennessee. We now have locations across the region, and some exciting news coming specifically for Johnson City in that arena. But we are one of 9 facilities across the state. A little bit unique in that we are more rural than most and represent more partnerships than most of our size. As if you haven't seen the board of directors or the staff before, I wanted to put that into a slide so that you can kind of quickly see that we are well represented by governments across the region for our board. And our board makes all the final decisions on the use of funds and the programs that we support, but I'm happy to say that we've been able to do some things regionally that have been unique, and that I believe we are the only nonprofit, or one of the very few nonprofits, that are funded by all 3 of the Tri-Cities. And we've been able to do some very creative things that haven't happened in our region as it relates to entrepreneurship and ecosystem development, something that you usually have to travel to a much bigger metro, most of the time out of the state, to see. We basically work in a pretty straightforward method as far as how we gain our customers, which our customers represent entrepreneurs, people who want to start a business, want to grow a business, and for us, a particular focus is how we want to retain businesses in our region. A big thing that we see happen is our most talented people typically have left in the past, and so that's a real opportunity for us to focus on how do we give them the opportunity to stay here and continue to grow. We also have found a really important place in the role of diversity and inclusion, the role that we can play for entrepreneurs, but also in our alignment with our education partners and our workforce development partners. We have a specific focus for veteran entrepreneurs. As you know, we have a higher than normal veteran population, and we want to make sure we take advantage of helping them create businesses or join opportunities that we can find. And then with the role that we're playing in workforce development, which I will tell you in a moment about a pretty exciting announcement from today, actually, in that space. But we do this effort, and how we help that group of people is through partnerships and programs. It's kind of a two-pronged approach. We have programs that we run and operate ourselves through our staff and our partners, both locally and around the state. But then we also try to find other organizations in the region in which we empower their effort through resources and connectivity, whether it's financial or other, through the network that we have at ThinkSpace. And then one thing that we've typically done with the state is they like to collect data on how many companies you work with and that sort of thing, very qualitative type or quantitative type data. We're really moving more into a qualitative type approach for this year, which will be a little bit of a unique proposition. We really want to focus on what is the impact we see in the city. What's the property being built? What's the businesses that are locating? How many people are being hired? Some things that maybe represent more quality data for entrepreneurship and where we can spend our resources. A few success stories, though, that happened this past year. You may know about some of these, maybe not. We have successfully helped some companies fund themselves, which has retained the talent here in this area. The second one, Ripple University, is a great example of that. That's a young female entrepreneur that would have most likely ended up back in Atlanta had we not been able to help connect her to finances and to investment opportunities. We had a veteran entrepreneur here, the third one over, Dr. TJ O'Neill, who won the SBA Inventor of the Year for Tennessee this year, which is a pretty exciting thing because we don't normally see that much in our region. It was exciting to see that the work that we have done, as well as our other partners, including ETSU, be able to help him get that recognition. Most recently, and there'll be an actual formal press release coming in the next month, of a company we relocated from Indiana who has already brought 7 new employees with them, and then has promised to create 25 jobs over the next 12 months. They're bringing in an automated system in the residential construction space where a lot of the technology that they use is a little bit higher in skill and rewarded very well with the employees. And we see this as a unique opportunity because we want to follow. Thanks to you guys, Johnston City always makes a list of the fastest growing cities or the most desired places to go. So the industries that are part of making that a reality, we want to make sure we support both in the companies that are part of that supply chain, but also the jobs that they create and making sure that they're high quality jobs. We also launched this past year, not in Johnston City of this particular space, but we will be doing this in Johnston City in fiscal year 23. We launched a project in Kingsport called Innovation Village. Next month, we will also get a formally recognized, but we just found out we won 3 International Economic Development Awards for that project, in which I will get to go to Oklahoma to accept. But the intention is it was because of the collaborative partnerships. The awards are specifically for public-private partnership and for academic partnership, and we believe that what we are doing in Johnston City will represent an exact model of that and with some even unique strengths because of our partners here. With this particular organization, I sit on the board of this, and so ThinkSpace is an affiliate, but also I'm part of the leadership in the organization. We've recently moved that over to Walnut Street in partnership with Rugged Media. And so what we think we'll see over the next few months is a direct opportunity to empower students who are graduating or in the final years of their college opportunity to work in that space. And one of the big things that we do with this is we bring in significant assets in terms of computers and software and that sort of thing that largely is unavailable to students who graduate. As a graduate of digital media, the big problem when you left campus, you no longer got access to campus assets, including computers and cameras and other things like that. And so between Create Appalachia and some things that ThinkSpace has done, we've been awarded nearly $1 million in opportunity for that kind of equipment, including a recent award, which you may have heard for ThinkSpace, was $350,000 to deploy this kind of equipment in the communities in the region. We're going to specifically take that equipment and move it into the more challenged parts of our region, working closely with the Langston Center on a project related to how do we get that equipment technology into the communities that they work with, as well as help empower some trainers that are part of their communities to lead the education in that space.
Keith, would you go into a little bit more detail about the project in Kingsport where Create Appalachia is located and how that's funded and what the goal of that facility is?
Yeah, so we have a particular, what we call a comparative advantage approach. This is a strategic approach we use for Kingsport and Johnston City and others, where we try to take advantage of what's naturally in the city already and then build those connection points. And so in Kingsport, we work specifically a lot in advanced manufacturing because of Eastman and RCAM and their location downtown. When Create Appalachia won a grant from the ARC a few years ago, one of the opportunities that came out of that when I joined the board, we were able to work with the city of Kingsport, in which Create Appalachia was able to deploy a significant part of that grant, about $450,000, into Kingsport. And through our relationships, we were able to get the city to basically donate or lease a property that they had recently vacated to the collaboration in order to create a digital media center. And in Kingsport, we focused specifically, that was the second piece of our long-term strategy of Innovation Village. The first piece was the launching of a Makerspace that was funded by the city, or supported by originally by the city, now has close to 100 members that pay monthly, in which we have the opportunity for both the design and creation of digital opportunities in the digital media center that then can translate into a real live environment with tools in which things can be made. Products, skill sets, those sort of things can kind of evolve. And we're continuing to work with RCAM and others to help empower the next level, which would be how do you take someone who's designed a product, created a prototype of a product into light manufacturing, and so that we can be more of a draw in opportunity for creatives in that space. I think similar things could be created in Johnson City in collaboration with both projects, with maybe even a unique approach to how we think of what is the strengths in Johnson City, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's with digital media, to empower those things so that when we win grants like that, we can heavily focus it on the collaborative efforts of the partners involved.
And so the city's contribution was really the old city hall.
Yeah.
That was
9,000 square feet we got a $1 lease for 10 years.
And what's
Yeah.
it called?
Innovation Village.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Promptly named because of Academic Village, which sits right beside of it. We want to just show a little kind of graphic of how we feel like we fit in the economic development picture. We hold obviously an entrepreneurship and innovation approach because of the relationship with the state, but we also work across many sectors, including private industry, the nonprofit sector, academic, of course, and then all the regional economic development agencies, and in a very hand-in-hand way. The announcement we had today, which I think is on maybe the next slide. Actually, let me see if it is, because it was a nice picture. The thing that's unique about this, and the reason I focus on this, though, is that we have been able to build a cooperation and a strategy across the cities that we've been able to leverage into the strengths of the cities, which has proved really, really successful, especially in recruiting. Frankly, we've had to back up on recruiting just a little because we have to catch up in the workforce side. Some of the jobs that we think we can create through the companies that we've brought into the Johnson City to see spaces, to meet leaders, we haven't had the workforce that would have been ready had they moved that day. So that's why we've kind of shifted a little bit of our focus into understanding what the workforce needs are. My 23 success, so when I come back next year, these are the things I want to be able to tell you that we've done. A lot of these things are actually quite underway, and when I created the slide, we had not yet won the $350,000 ARC grant that we now have. A heavy percentage of that will be deployed in Johnson City, both in the permanent location on Walnut Street, but then also in a mobile unit that we'll be able to deploy in our other partners like the Langston Project and those things. The goals that I have in the middle, well, actually I'll come back because that's my big goal for the year, and I'll come back to that. The picture that you see down in the bottom right, that was actually from this morning. We announced a strategic partnership with D.R. Horton to create a workforce program for getting in the construction industry. D.R. Horton's going to spend $500 million a year in our market for the next foreseeable future. And so one of the things that I feel strongly about our position and opportunity is that we have been able to collaborate with a group like D.R. Horton. There are a lot of things and a lot of questions that come up in that space, but one thing that I personally don't want to ignore is that investment's happening one way or another. So if we have an opportunity to help our communities find jobs and opportunity in that space, or as with the company that I just mentioned that relocated here, find opportunity to be part of that $500 million supply chain that are based in Johnson City and hiring in Johnson City, then I want to make sure that we're a part of that story. And this morning, we were able to present in front of the regional CTE directors, including Northeast State and TCAT, about a program that will be launched on October 1st, specifically targeted towards people who have either left high school and our pre-apprenticeship program with Northeast State or TCAT, that this will be a 3-week intensive course for them to understand the industry, or targeting people who are in the small businesses in this space and helping them scale their business in the construction industry. We also believe this program will be important when we talk about returning workers or previously incarcerated folks who want to move into this space, that this program will be a model. It was really well received, and we were very thankful for the coverage we had earlier this morning. The third thing there, my initiatives, I'm specifically focused on capital this year. I think one of the things that really will set us into the next universe as far as what we offer entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs is access to local capital, or capital that we can bring local that helps them stay here locally. For the last year, I've been working with the state of Tennessee through a partnership with the U.S. Treasury and ECD around how do we take some of the funds that were pushed down through the SSBCI program. The state is currently proposing that each entrepreneur center, so that original map would include ThinkSpace, would receive $4 to $5 million of direct investment opportunity into our community. That means if someone shows up, they have a technology where they normally would go to Atlanta, or they'd normally go out west, we have the direct ability to fund them in the city and keep them here with investment capital. That's something that has not been available in this region of any significant amount, maybe ever. So that is something I expect to be online by the end of this calendar year and deployed later in the early spring. To me, though, it's all around this particular goal of having our city and our ecosystem represented nationally. There were some recent studies that came out that showed some cities there that you'll recognize, Asheville and Knoxville, and where they fit in this ranking. The ranking was the top 1,000 ecosystems in the globe and the top 500 in the U.S. We are currently not on that list. I intend for us to be on that list by July of next year. If Asheville is at 113 and Knoxville is at 153, the strides we've made in the last 3 years will put us on that list. I'm very confident of that. But that's one of the strategic goals I think is we are trying to achieve for our region is being recognized as a center for entrepreneurship. Of course, we have a number of events and other strategic partnerships that we have. Happy to talk about any of those, but those were a couple of highlights. Lastly, the other thing that I was asked to put together for a different partner, and I just decided to include it with everyone, was just to show the total breakdown of ThinkSpace's support and illustrate that we have equal distribution among the region and a lot of other people that are heavily involved. And the main purpose of this is that I want to make sure that what we are, matching with the city is dollar for dollar or greater. What we're bringing resources to our partners is greater than what we're asking for, but then also to show that no one partner is burdening the major of the load. And so a simple graphic like this has kind of been able to illustrate where everything fits there. Now, what we do at the beginning of the year is we lay out a specific strategic plan for each of our partners in our cities and our counties. So that doesn't deviate based on what we expect to have received from you guys. But it does, I do want to illustrate just the support that we've been able to garner over the last few years. And so this is our fiscal 23 budget. That is my presentation for tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I appreciate the opportunity to be back here in front of you tonight.
Are there questions for Mr. Gwynn?
I'm just curious from your perspective and all the folks that you work with, for those who are coming in from out of state, why are they coming here?
Why they're coming here? I think it's a number of things. Large scale was when COVID, there was a lot of advantages we got out of that. It flattened the earth in a sense of like we are now competitive, hyper competitive with anywhere else in the country. It makes the argument of how important our natural resources, our mountains and our rivers and things were before, but you still had to travel to come to them. Now, with the fiber access that we have, with the support of the municipalities, I always tell every entrepreneur I meet with that's outside of the region, let's just text the mayor here, and let's text it wherever you were thinking about going. Let's just see if we get a response. To demonstrate the opportunity of how much access
I haven't
you
given
have.
him my cell number.
I was gonna take it there, but thank you. No.
You can text one of us.
Right.
he'll
But
get
it
one
illustrates, probably Vice Mayor Fowler, but it illustrates the opportunities. And so when you take those barriers out, we now can punch above our weight, which is why I know we can be ranked next year in those spaces. But I think that's part of it. I think we're going to continue to see that. The more that we have economic instability, I actually feel like there's an opportunity for us to see a lot more attention. So I want to make sure that we're ready for it and that we're positioned. I know the recruiting opportunity. I see how we can get more and more people interested here from the entrepreneurial space. But we got to make sure everything else is lined up just right so that when they come, they stay.
Thank you. Other
Great.
questions?
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Heath.
Thank you all very much.
Commission, your next order of business is the consideration of several road closures. And Andy, if you will come forward, the first one is for Thankful Baptist Church.
Good evening. Okay, so our first road closure request is for Thankful Baptist Church. It's for their 150th anniversary celebration. They're requesting closure of Earl Street as outlined in the provided site plan from Sunday, August 21st through Sunday, August 28th, 4:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. each evening. Special Events Committee has reviewed and we do recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
A motion and a second. If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration for a
Do I
road.
get to vote?
Mayor Wise, I'm sorry.
I'm for that one.
Next consideration is a road closure for St. John's Episcopal Church.
Okay, St. John's Episcopal Church has requested a closure of East Myrtle Street as outlined in the provided site plan on Sunday, August 28th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. for their beginning of the new church year celebration. The Special Events Committee has reviewed and we do recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second. We have a motion and a second. If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Good. Next item is consideration of a road closure for Mark a Little Car Show.
Mark A. Little Car Show has requested a closure of Commerce Street as outlined in the provided site plan on September 4th from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And the Special Events Committee has reviewed and we do recommend approval.
Move for approval.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of a road closure request for Emoji Festival.
The UMOJA Festival has requested closures of West King Street and West Millard Street as outlined in the site plan provided on Friday, September 9th at 9 a.m. through Saturday, September 10th at 11 p.m. Special Events Committee has reviewed and we do recommend approval.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Next order of business is request for closure for the Emoji Festival and Parade.
Sure, and then after I do this, we have reps for the UMOJA Festival who'd like to tell you a little bit about the event.
Yes.
The UMOJA Festival has requested intermittent closures of Jackson Avenue, West Unaka Avenue, West Main Street, and Boone Street as outlined in the provided site plan on Saturday, September 10th from 10:45 to 12:30 p.m. for the UMOJA Festival Parade. The Special Events Committee has reviewed and we would recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Good evening.
Hey.
My name is Joe Bradley, Chair of the Emoji Festival, and we would like to invite each and every one of you guys to the festival this year, and hopefully everybody in here has been to the festival. Okay, it's Saturday, September the 10th, and we're going to have it back at Kings Commons Park. We had it there last year, and everybody just loved it there. So, and also it's our 25th year. So UMOJA is the longest running festival in Johnston City. So, we started at Carver, went to Freedom Hall, came downtown, and now we're at Kings Common Park. So we're gonna have a lot of vendors, merchandise vendors, a lot of good music. We're gonna have some reggae, if anybody likes that. R&B. I know Jenny, she got some bloodlines of some people in her family that love to dance.
That's true.
So, yes, we'd like to see everybody there. And also, we're bringing the parade back this year.
Good.
And we'd like to see each and every one of you guys maybe in the parade, either walking or driving or whatever. But we, the Emoji committee would like to thank each and every one of you guys, and we'll like to see September 10th.
Joe, I'll be in the parade as long as I can walk on those big stilts. How about that?
That's gonna be awesome. Yeah, we'll have them back this year. We're having the drummers. It's a lot of fun. You know, we're gonna have a kids carnival with inflatables, a train. So it's gonna be really nice. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last order of road closures is St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital has requested intermittent closures of West King Street, North Roan Street, Commerce Street, East King Street, Elm Street, East Fairview Avenue, Hill Street, East Myrtle Street, Oak Street, Welborn Street, West Fairview Avenue, Millard Street, and Montgomery Street as outlined in the provided site plan on Saturday, September 24th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the St. Jude 5K Marathon. The Special Events Committee has reviewed, and we do recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda, and just as a reminder, items 6.1.1 through 6.1.5 has been removed for the September 1st meeting, and item 6.1.8 has been moved to other.
So Commissioner Hunter, do you have anything you wish to pull?
Not now.
Commissioner Brock?
We'll pull 6.1.7.
All right. Commissioner Murphy?
Say.
Okay. Nothing? Okay, so we have one item to pull. That's 6.1.7, consider approval of proposed dog park pump track at Legion Street property. Commissioner Brock, what are your questions?
Well, just really to kind of review the plans for this installation and proposal to the commission and to the citizens of Johnston City. And so
Oh, this is a setup. He's got a power.
Phil's been, his department's been doing a lot of work on this, and glad to see it.
The property that we're talking about is the 5-acre tract at the corner of Legion in the state of Franklin. Has a kind of a parking area, but about 3 acres of it's grass today. And so there are two projects that we want you to consider the following: the use of the property, number one. Number two would be if you agree or disagree with preliminary designs. And third, if you would like for an entity to raise money for one of the projects. So I'll go through the projects. The first is a pump track. We hired American Ramp Company out of Joplin, Missouri to give us a preliminary design. It was reviewed by our staff, JCDA, Park and Rec, et cetera, and we moved it to another group that expressed interest in the project. Basically, it's a pump track for kids who are just learning to ride. And so the section in the northeast corner where you see the arrow, that's for real beginners, and then the intermediate would get to the section that's the balance of the 1.5 acres of property. You can see some of the fixtures involved, but it's been reviewed by bicycle companies here in town. All agree that it's would be a nice addition for Johnston City. It's right along the Tweetsie Trail, obviously. Tweetsie Trail runs down Legion Street, which is located on the right side of the picture. Total cost of the project is approximately $300,000. we do not think that we can build this project internally. So we would have to have the money raised by somebody. And so we went to the Rotary Club, Noon Rotary Club, and they expressed an interest. They're even here today. We have Gary Mcallister and our fearless leader, and Braxton opted out. So, and they want to take it on as a project funding. We would not start construction, obviously, if we went down this path. We would not start construction until the money's raised, which would take us into the next calendar year. But in the interim, we would proceed with final construction drawings. So that's this project. The next project is on the other half of the 3-acre track, and it's located next to the pump track, and it is a dog park. In this particular case, JCDA went out and went for a grant through the Boyd Foundation and received a $100,000 grant. There was also an anonymous donor who has committed another $100,000 to the project. Let me show you the project. So then we went to, ended up going to ETSU, and their design team in one of their classes took it on, researched the best dog parks, and came up with the following. This is their proposal. It's actually divided into 3 areas: a training facility to the lower right. Upper right is for small dogs. The lower left is for larger dogs. Different types of amenities, and then a pavilion in the middle for parents to watch their dogs, or maybe even watch their kids on the pump track. Kind of cool.
Phil, to get my bearings straight on the picture you just had, can you go back? Is the top of the picture parallel to the state of Franklin?
Top of the picture is the concrete slab.
And then state of Franklin?
And then state of Franklin,
Okay.
correct. So it kind of gives you an idea of the project.
Phil, are we going to use the concrete pad for parking for all the people coming to this?
Yes, what we will do, if we're going to be utilizing the area, the concrete pad's in a little bit tough shape.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to resurface the concrete pad in the subsequent fiscal year because it's well beyond any money that we have. In this particular project, what we did a cost estimate, and what we found that for the $200,000, our crews will have to build the project. That's putting in all the concrete, the fencing itself. We looked at a kind of a wrought iron type of aluminum fencing, and we can't afford to do that, so we're looking at, without an infusion of money, so we're looking at a sort of a chain link, powder-coated chain link. Then the money would be used for the fencing, all the concrete work. We might be able to do the pavilion in-house. We think we can fit that in. We were looking at water features for the dogs. That seemed to be a thing that stood out when I looked at the top dog parks in the country, and they all seem to have a water feature. And then some of the other, I'm not sure I can get the canopies in on that budget or not. To make it easy, some commitment at some point of an additional $100,000 would be nice to be able to do public restrooms for both of the facilities and cover any cost overruns. So this is a different angle view. This is looking at it from, essentially from the Legion Street side.
Now, will Gary Mcallister be managing the dog park?
We've got him on the construction team.
Okay. So in all seriousness, I realize this is probably not the time specific to that question, but the Willow Springs Dog Park is on a public park, but there's a private association that manages access. How do we anticipate this facility operating and policing,
Well, right now, we'll
behaviors
have to
and
do it through
vaccinations?
Park and Rec unless we can find, we have not secured an entity to manage the project or maintain it. That would have to come through Park and Rec for right now until they're able to move it forward. It'll be, it probably is a project that somebody is willing to take on because it should be state-of-the-art, top of the line.
There are some restrictions to the Boyd grant, and that's you don't charge an entry fee, so you don't have a membership. There are certain rules, though, however, the dogs have to be vaccinated and, be socially, acceptable to be with other animals. I think animal control certainly can be a part of helping set up those guidelines that meet the restrictions of the grants as well, so we'll work on that. But Commissioners, y'all may have remembered, Aaron, you probably don't, but about 3 years ago when we still had the Net Rep Outdoor Committee, I served on that and had the opportunity to go to Dr. Fowler's stomping grounds in Arkansas, and we went to Bentonville, Arkansas. And so they had a combination of a child's bike playground, as they called it, and their dog park off of their gateway trail. We were there in midday, and it was very quiet because it was school time, but the minute school was out, the place just filled up. And to see the families coming together around this amenity was just really great to witness. So when we look at our strategic plan of quality of place and the fact that we certainly want the reputation of being a child and family-friendly city, I think this checks a lot of boxes for us, and to be as accessible as this will be to families in Johnston City and to bring them down into the downtown area, really dress up this corner, and what you're doing across the street with the animal mural, the dog mural, and then the new kind of rock, what do you call that? A rock, it's just.
Rock garden.
Yeah, it's really going to help the curb appeal of our city, plus give our families something to do that's going to be really easy to do. So, thank you, Phil.
And I certainly don't disagree with any of that. I guess I'm just trying to understand how we intend to sustain its oversight. And you put a bunch of animals together, there are certain things you need to be sure the dogs have been vaccinated against, and the logistics of that. And animal control can certainly be part of that solution, but our animal control services aren't even available full-time.
I'm just talking
So-
about the planning part of it.
Sure.
And
I just want to be sure that we don't
Yeah.
accept a $100,000 gift and a $500,000 future liability. And I'm just trying to understand what we're obligating ourselves to when this is done.
there are multiple of these parks that have been funded through the Boyd Foundation, so the precedent is there on how to manage them, and we'll certainly tap into
It's-
that as well.
And so I guess using them as an example, who starts footing the bill after the Boyd money is spent? And I guess I'm asking that of staff. How do we intend to pay for this?
Again, the first element, we would spend the Boyd money, that's $100,000. And then the second would be the anonymous donor of $100,000. Depending on how far you want to go, you probably have to supplement some additional funds in order to make it complete. The location of the facility is actually at the beginning of the Tweetsie Trail. And we lack bathrooms even for the Tweetsie Trail. We lack really sufficient parking. So it actually becomes sort of the starting point for all of that. So when I'm suggesting to Randy and Kathy and you guys, any infusion of local dollars actually is going even beyond these two projects in supporting activities that we already have in place in the area.
And there is still some separation, though, between this property and the Tweetsie and the OmniSource, and there's several properties. They're not direct, I mean, certainly the Tweetsie Trail needs more adjacent parking and restrooms, no doubt about it, but there's at least two properties between this park and the Tweetsie Trail, aren't there? OmniSource and that, I guess it's the
Yeah,
railroads.
I've talked to the guy. I'm not sure he'll ever do anything with the adjoining property. I have talked with him about creating a residential community of, it
Is
could be
the
a great-
adjoining property being that rectangle to the top right?
Actually, to the bottom where the
Oh, I'm
picture's
sorry.
taken from.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I twisted around.
Right now, it's kind of a transport facility. It just doesn't seem to me to fit that area. We talked at length. I'm not sure he has the capital to be able to do anything, so we'll probably have to switch hands whenever he passed. And then you have a kind of a historic building. We have not really pursued that building, even though it probably needs to be renovated or torn down or something. But because it is of that type value, it's probably wise to kind of, let's wait and see what happens with the balance of property once you get the proper capital involved. And then water features, we definitely want water features. Exactly how we're going to do that, we're exploring options, but that certainly is included in the budget. And so this is kind of what it looks like when you combine the two together into that location. Again, $100,000 contribution from anonymous donors, nothing to sneeze at. It's nothing to sneeze at the desire of a local entity to want the Noon Rotary Club. It's a huge undertaking for them to take on this project, but that's what they do, serve the community, and so they're more than willing to take it on, and let's see where we go. And they're excited enough to be here, and they just want to be part of the community as they've demonstrated through the years, both morning, noon, and all the Rotary clubs.
I was going to leave anybody.
Since two of you are members, I won't say whether or not I'm a member, but anyway, that's a huge deal. So what we're asking is, number one, can we use the property for these purposes? And if the answer is yes, then we have to send a letter to the Boyd Foundation saying that we do have public property that will be used for the dog park, and that'll trigger that project. JCDA will take care of that. Number two, do you like the preliminary design work? If you do, then our group will massage in consultation with others the construction drawings so that I can begin to phase in the construction element of the dog park. As far as the pump track, I'm going to go back to American Ramp Company and ask them to give us a set of construction drawings, because I'm just not sure that I can construct that. The third is to then give your approval to the authorization of the Noon Rotary Club to be the lead entity in trying to secure the funds for the bike park. And fourth, if you want to contribute some money at some point in time, let Kathy know.
Now, do you know about how much bathrooms would cost on this property to build?
I think, Randy, I think we estimate about 50, was it 30 or 50,000?
I think it's about 60,000 if we did use the in-house forces to build.
Yeah.
That would be the material
And then the pavilion, we were putting at around 50,000 for the pavilion that we would construct internally.
We might find some other generous people in the community that may help us with some of those things too, so.
But there might be an opportunity to reallocate, because we're into some of the projects that you earmarked money for. And there might be something that we can relay to Randy and Kathy, that whether or not we have extra money in an existing project fund that we might be able to use.
And Mayor, I want to just follow up so we get a little bit of closure. I know there's concerns about ongoing maintenance. Generally, what happens is a foundation will form to raise money for the ongoing operations of these kind of dog parks. That happens out at Willow Springs to some degree, but that's funded through memberships. I can tell you we have very generous donors in this community for animals. And so I think we can look at that approach to get that organization, and you will find volunteers who will serve on it. That is not going to be a problem whatsoever. But we can do that in connection with the city on how it needs to be maintained and all.
And if you all, I'm sorry, Phil, if you wanted to amend the motion to include asking staff to look for that foundation, we'll be happy to include that as part of it, which is, working with somebody to establish an ongoing foundation for the maintenance of the dog park.
Do we need to make a
Or some
motion
sort
for
of
that?
operation, we don't
Yeah, and
necessarily.
Not
I don't,
necessarily a foundation.
I don't want my comments to be misunderstood as opposition. They are just
No, they're
questions and
legitimate, yeah.
reservations.
Right.
And I think, you create an open facility and you have hundreds of dogs turning through there, and they all better be vaccinated for kennel cough. And we need to have some way of ensuring that if I bring my dog, the dog that we're around has been responsible in getting that stuff done, and that could become logistically pretty challenging. And if staff has a confidence level that we're in a position to do that, I have confidence in staff.
And Mayor, I think, if I understood your question correctly, there's the one-time capital costs, which we talked somewhat extensively tonight about, but there's also the ongoing recurring cost, and we don't know what that is until we find out how the operation will be handled. And I think, that's a valid question. We want it responsibly and professionally run, with a level of quality that it maintains a consistent level of expectation, and that does have a dollar figure to
Yeah,
it.
that experience is out there with the other dog parks, so we can get that information real carefully.
When we
But
put
the other thing,
together,
people.
when we did put together the grant, just informed that the Friends of Johnston City Dog Park expressed an interest at the time we were applying for the grant, that they were interested in maybe taking over the operation. So I think it's out there, and I'm very comfortable that that's going to occur.
When people apply to be able to bring their dogs there, and they're given a thing for their collar, so they can only go in if they've shown their
collar.
shot records and all that kind of stuff. So there is a methodology behind it too.
How much is the,
As long as Gary Mcallister is responsible for the
He's there
day-to-day
checking dog
operation,
tags every
then
day.
I'm good.
at the other dog park that you mentioned where there's a membership, do you know the cost, or?
I don't think it's very much.
It's not.
It's like maybe 20 or 25.
Parks and
We
Rec.
have somebody that may know that.
Sorry.
That's,
This is Phil's show, I'm just.
you have to approach the podium. I
Well,
mean,
you look a lot better than I do.
Is this good for downtown, Leslie? Lindsay?
This dog park, because it is receiving grant funds, it will have to be a free public dog park. However, rules and regulations will take place, and as Phil mentioned, the Friends of Johnston City Dog Park have expressed interest in finding a way to have some type of management of vaccination records if we see fit. However, I do think that that's a different discussion that needs to be had. One of the things with this dog park is we really want to encourage visitors of Johnston City to also be able to take their dogs to this park. So I think it's another conversation that needs to be had. It is an option 100%. But again, we want to attract tourism as well as visitors to Johnson City and also have this amenity for those people as well. So there's a lot of discussion to be had, but we want to make sure that it's taken care of. So there will not be a membership fee to this park.
Right, which means somebody will be paying for the management, and I assume that the club would require some offset to their expense to manage it. And so the question isn't necessarily will it be managed, but what is the recurring cost to
Yeah.
manage it? You know, I mean.
So the Friends of the Johnson City Dog Park have not given us a quote yet for monthly management of those services. But as a staff person of the JCDA and Connect Downtown, I'm not opposed to fundraising on an annual basis for dogs if we need to. I don't think that would be a challenge.
Probably will work out really well.
We have a little experience in this city about doing that, so.
We are, and if you don't know, a fun fact is that 53% of households within a 5-mile radius of that location have pets, and I think that we could probably get them on board with supporting this cause. I'm confident we could do it.
And I don't want us to forget $100,000 from the Boyd Foundation and a commitment of $300,000 from the Noon Rotary Club, which is definitely the service above self that y'all are trying to do. So thank
Absolutely.
y'all very much.
And that Gary Mcallister's running the park.
And the elections.
Exactly.
Johnson City is a great community, and I think that this amenity is a much-needed asset. I think that it has a lot of potential, and it can go a very long way in our community.
Are there other questions about that item? Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Phil.
I'll just make mention that I'm in agreement with Mayor Wise and Commissioner Hunter. I'm interested in seeing what are the reoccurring costs, what are the yearly operational expenses. I think a dog park is a great amenity to our community for those who love dogs. But it's going to cost us moving forward, and I'm just interested in seeing what that looks like.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Penzola? Thank you.
I move for.
That was the only thing pulled. Is it motion to approve?
Do we
Go ahead.
need to have a motion about the foundation for the dog park added on before we?
I think you've given us direction on that. I don't think
Yeah.
you have to amend
Okay,
it.
all right, thanks.
So you're making a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a
Yes.
second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
And Mayor, if I may, before Lisa, our IT director, leaves, I would love for her to introduce our new GIS manager. You had an item on the consent agenda that you approved, so they didn't have a need to get up and speak, but I would love for Lisa to introduce.
This is sort of like an initiation, almost a
Diane
hazing,
Young's.
but not really.
It's funny, I said that to her earlier. They may not have a question, but they might want to meet you. So I'm really excited, Commissioners, Mayor, Vice Mayor, certainly Kathy, to introduce Diane Youngs. She is our geospatial manager, and she comes to us with a wealth of awesome geospatial knowledge. She has worked for the city of Mesa, Arizona, amongst many other places. So we're really excited. This is her 3rd month, and we're rocking and rolling. Is there anything you want to add, Diane?
No.
Do you want to tell us you're a dog lover? Maybe?
Very much a dog lover. I have a very
Get in front of
large
the
border
microphone
collie
there.
who needs exercise
That's right.
regularly, so.
Actually, he's being boarded so she could be here tonight, and the last time he was there, he ate his blankie.
Oh.
So we're really hoping that that doesn't happen
He
this
doesn't
time.
like being confined. You know how border collies are.
Yes.
But I guess I'm grateful for the opportunity. I enjoy working for the city of Johnson City, and it's a wonderful challenge, and trying to ensure that we're providing our end users from operations to administrative and executive staff everything they need to make sound decisions. We're
We're-
blessed.
We're glad you're here.
Welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
Thanks for letting us introduce her.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item for consideration, Commissioners, is the 3rd reading of the fiscal year 2021 supplemental budget ordinance. Commission, you've heard this item twice before, and I'm sure Ms. Jennings could explain it more, but essentially it's taking the adopted budget and it's making amendments that occurred throughout the year and adjusting those for audit purposes.
Do we have a
I move for
motion?
approval.
Motion and a second. If there's not objection, we'll call the roll on third reading.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Commission, your next order of business is under Other. 8.1 is to consider the renewal of the annual memorandum of understanding between the City of Johnson City and Space.
I'm opposed.
And I think Heath is still here if you have questions.
Are there questions for Heath or staff?
I think you explained it pretty well.
Yeah, I think that I would give you that, but I feel like you've already kind of answered all the questions. Is there a motion?
Move
on
approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
I'm going to abstain because I'm now on the board, so
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
makes it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next order of business is the new item 8.2 that was amended and approved to be moved prior. And that was item, I'm sorry,
6.1.8.
6.1.8, which is a presentation, consideration of approval to terminate the contract with Tennessee Department of Corrections for the Johnston City Detention Center. We have Major Rice here to do the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. There is the button. Not sure where the button, there we go. All right, thank you, Ms. Powell, Board of Commissioners. Mr. Mayor, thank you for having me here. My name is Brian Rice. I'm a major with the Johnston City Police Department in the Administrative Division. We're talking about the Johnston City Detention Facility tonight. A little bit of history about the facility. It's been in operation since the early 70s. In 1992-ish, we started doing some contracting with the Tennessee Department of Corrections housing state inmates, male state inmates. That progressed through several years until 2002, excuse me, when we converted to housing all female state inmates on a contract basis with Tennessee Department of Corrections. Starting at that time, we no longer booked any prisoners into our facility. All those prisoners went to Washington County Detention Center. The facility is rather large, got 9,725 square feet. We have a commercial kitchen, 17 restrooms, laundry facilities. At maximum capacity, we're at 88 inmates. All of our inmates are classified as minimum security. That's one of the requirements to come into our facility. We do not have on-site medical at our facility, which is limits us on our ability to take certain inmates into the facility. The biggest thing on this slide, the operation of our facility is not a requirement by the city. We do this strictly on a contract basis with the state of Tennessee. Inmate population, to give you a quick glance, if you look at the big takeaways from this, when you look at the population in 19, we're at 83. When you look at when we finished out FY22, we're at 48. Today, as we are, we're sitting at 35. In a matter of 4 very, very quick years in the grand scheme of life, you can see the revenues as opposed to the expenditures. The revenues have decreased greatly while our expenditures have stayed about the same. Now, the reason these expenditures have stayed the same is due to staffing levels. Whether we have 30 inmates or whether we have 88 inmates, we have to keep that same level of staffing. So it's been very, very difficult to maintain staffing in our facility. It's been difficult to maintain staffing in just about any facility, whether it's a fast food restaurant or a government business. Staffing is difficult for everyone. It's our recommendation to notify the Tennessee Department of Corrections of intent to end our contract with them. What that would look like would be we give them 30 days advance notice. Then we'll begin the transition of of the inmates to other facilities throughout the state, whether Tennessee Department of Corrections wants to take them back to Nashville or whether they transfer them to another local facility in our region. We want to work with our existing employees. Right now, we have 9 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff in the facility. Our goal is to work with those individuals because they are dedicated employees, and as we know, our employees are our greatest resource here in the city. We want to work with them to find opportunities within the city government, whether it be custodial, whether it be a job in purchasing or water, sewer somewhere. I have been in contact with other organizations, local sheriff's offices, state of Tennessee, to provide backup plans for that if we cannot find an arrangement within the city that's suitable for the employees, or they don't find it suitable. Those other organizations have offered to take those employees in, which honestly is a great sign that they recognize the quality of our employees and they want to bring them into their organization. There would be a 90-day transition period for those employees if we can't find something inside the city, or if we can't find another organization to take them in. They will be compensated for the 90-day period. One of the things we're going to have to look at is we're going to have to determine a solution for custodial services. As the board's very well aware, a lot of the custodial services throughout City Hall and in some departments throughout the city were performed by state inmates. So that's one of the issues that we will have to look forward and working through those issues. The existing space, work with throughout the city to repurpose those space to meet the needs of the entire organization. So that's our recommendation.
Major Rice, you mentioned to us earlier too, because of this staffing deficit that we're experiencing, you're having to pull patrol officers off the street to man the jail, which really kind of takes them out of service, to the citizens. So, because we have to keep a certain staffing level.
Yes, ma'am. If you noticed in the media recently, we're not the only corrections institute that's had to deal with staffing issues. One of the ways we've been able to get around that has been to pull our patrol officers off the street during certain periods to assist in our jail. Obviously, the downside of that is that's less police officers on the street. So that's not a long-term solution. That was a stopgap measure just to get the shifts covered.
And we're experiencing across the state a reduction in these inmates because the nonviolent inmate, they're looking at other ways to address those folks and create some justice and restoration and reconciliation of sorts. And so it's not just our numbers that are down, numbers in facilities across the state are down, correct?
Yes, sir. And it's one of the, it's a good thing.
Right.
That we're not incarcerating the numbers of peoples that we have in the past. The focus seems to be to the restorative justice programs where we're getting into treatment facilities as opposed to incarceration. There is a ripple effect to that. Most of those programs are targeted towards lower level offenders, which would be classified as minimum security inmates, which would fit into our facility. So if we're taking that pool away, taking numbers from that pool, that really decreases the chances that we can get someone in our facility. Our facility is it's unique. As I mentioned earlier slides, we do not have in-house medical that's contracted out, which means without having in-house medical, we cannot have any inmates with any kind of psychotropic medication. So that's one of the reasons we have a difficulty in staffing the facility to the max.
Are there other questions for Major Rice?
I would move for approval.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Is there any further discussion? I just want to acknowledge the work the folks in that department have done and continue to do. I think anytime you're making a change like this as an organization, you're disrupting people's work and their lives, and they're left with a lot of unanswered questions, and I don't want them to feel in some way less appreciated by the city. I think, I made the comment earlier that you know, it was a good run, but at some point the Blockbuster video store closed. You know, if the demand, thankfully, has gone down, we probably don't, it does not serve a purpose for us to be in this space, especially when local taxpayers are no longer in a net gain position where we're subsidizing potentially into the six figures. It makes sense to consolidate the remaining minimum security inmates in fewer, more cost-effective and programmatic effective facilities. So I just want to make sure that those staff people recognize that the decision is not a reflective of their work.
That's what I told this morning. It absolutely affects them. I'm very, very proud of our entire detention staff, of what they've gone through since COVID came to town, the struggles they have. It definitely impacts them, but it is not a reflection of them. So thank you, sir.
So we have a motion and a second. If there's nothing further and no objection, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Major
Rice.
Rice.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm still not picking up on this reference. What's a Blockbuster?
If you were older, you'd remember there were stores. And if you go rent a VHS tape, smart
That were
aleck.
bigger than this.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Commission. The last item that staff has is just an update, a very important update on the Parks and Recreation projects that have been going on this summer. Our Assistant City Manager, Charlie Stahl, will be making that presentation. And we will try to update you, the next meeting, we will try to provide Public Works projects as an update so that we can give you a status of how those are going as well. Thank you, Charlie.
Actually, this is I blew it up more from a status report on it's now a year-end report. So it's I just wanted to say I'm presenting this on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department, on behalf of James Ellis, the director, and his staff who actually prepared this. I am a member of the Park and Recreation Board. I am Ms. Paul's representative. I am a voting member, and I also want to introduce who you just reappointed, Vice Chairman Joe Bradley, sitting behind me here. So he is an integral part, along with the other members of the Park Board, and they are an advisory board to the City Commission, City Manager, on priorities and improvements in the park system. So we're very proud of a lot of activity, but the best thing we're proud of is that this report, we could do a report every year, but the COVID crisis, as you all know, affected every department. You heard the report from the jail, the police department just before. But if you look at the revenues, and it's not all about revenue, it's about service, but we do get park fees, and we basically shut down the park system as far as programming for all of, basically the bulk of 2020 and portions of 2021. So we were thankful, though, that you say, well, you know, you had a lot of employees there, and we do. We have, and if you count Park and Rec, golf, and senior services, we have 88 full-time employees, and we have as much as 150 temporary employees for various services. And we did not lay anybody off. You say, well, how can you do that if you're not opening your doors to programming? Well, the report of the jail, the prisoners were restricted by the state from coming out of the jail due to the COVID crisis. So what we ended up doing is deploying these employees that had really no programming to offer. They had their jobs basically short-circuited by the COVID pandemic. So in place of the prisoners, they were deployed in not just the park system, cleaning here at City Hall, cleaning other installations. So we were able to make use of all our staff for the greater good during this crisis, even though we did not offer, obviously, any indoor programming. So just to give you an overview, you know, we have an $8.7 million budget, which includes Park and Rec, seniors, and golf. We have 88 full-time employees, as I mentioned. We have over 1,350 acres of parkland. Now, a bulk of that is Buffalo Mountain, as you can imagine. We have 25 parks, ball fields, special use facilities, 3 community centers, and 3 swimming pools. So we are a very big system. And of course, our mission is committed to enhancing the quality of life by providing diverse recreational opportunities, quality maintenance of parks and facilities, preservation of natural resources and the creation of natural habitats within our parks, trail systems, and our city's green space. We did have highlights this past year, and I'm talking fiscal year through June 30th, but we obviously have some little hangover into the new fiscal year. But we opened the Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthy Play Area at Kiwanis Park. We dedicated our Kenneth Herb Greenleaf Splash Pad at Carver Park. We completed construction of and opened new outdoor restrooms, buildings at Carver Park, and completed the renovation of 80-plus raised beds in the Carver Park community, which, again, is supported by and endorsed by the community. So these projects are community-oriented. They involve citizens that use these facilities, and certainly their input is essential to making these facilities a success. We have begun the master plan process for Kefauver Farm. Actually, we completed the process, and you've seen the final report on that. And we have begun construction of the Wing Deer Park Athletic Complex expansion. We did purchase some adjacent property from the church beside the new complex, 6 acres, which is contiguous to Wing Deer Park for future expansion. And we replaced outdated playgrounds at 7M Park, and right now Carnegie Park is currently underway. And we did appoint a subcommittee to work on the development of a park master plan. And one of our members of the park board is chairman of that committee. And I just want to tell you what that is. This is a 20-year-old park and recreation master plan. And it was developed in conjunction with basically the planning department with the park and recreation department, produced this document, and was adopted by the city commission it was a 2000 to 2020 plan. So the plan is out of date. We still refer to it. There's still some good information in the plan. And in fact, it's interesting if you look through it. It even talks about, and this was done in 2000. It says the city's population is projected to be approximately 72,435 in the year 2020, representing an increase of approximately 22% over the next 20 years. Pretty close to what we were actually certified at. So it's not a bad document. It's pretty relevant. And right now, the Park and Recreation staff and the advisory board members are working with in groups to produce a document that they'll be working its way up, working with the planning department, but also bringing it ultimately to the city manager and yourself to have input in and to endorse. So we need a new plan, and this is just one of many plans the city's adopted over the years for various functions in the city government. Programming highlights, we did host the week-long girls 14 and under Class A Fast Pitch National Softball Championship with 70 teams from across the nation. We hosted a professional disc golf, Pro Masters Disc Golf World Championship with 270 participants. 2 outdoor concert series at Wing Deer Park and MPCC with over 5,500 attendants. Legion Street pool attendance topped 9,000 this summer. Over 575 children participated in the various summer camps programs. And Langston Center hosted numerous programs as well, addressing inclusion and diversity. The point is, we've bounced back from basically doing 0 programming at one point to doing so much more now, and we're hoping to keep expanding. And with that, we do have projects. And at Kiwanis Park, we have new deck boards installed with railing repairs and painting. At Langston's catering area, we have we're doing a catering operation on I call it the gym area, the upper floor. New warming units installed, the cabinetry, refrigerator, freezer are being installed, and a countertop is on order. So that is actively still ongoing and moving forward. And it's exciting to see that. Not to editorialize, I wish we could include that originally when we did the project, but we did not. So it's nice to see this component today. Here's Carver Park again. Whoops, I'm a little bit trigger. Let me do this fast. Let me get, little trigger finger there.
Well, since you kind of went back to Langston, how about the sound baffling in the big gym?
I think that's, Randy, that's working actively under order right now.
And the window screening?
You'll see that. You'll see that. Yeah, so that's actively going on.
But the baffling, when will that be installed?
We have a vendor who's working on getting that designed, and they've already kind of laid out the space to see what the baffling needs to be. And they're working on getting some cooperative pricing right now so we can take it to purchase.
And again, this is the 80 raised beds at the community garden at Carver. and you can see the community interest in that. We did receive a donated covered area canopy, and Public Works could afford a pad to provide shade for visitors at the splash pad at Carver Park. Interesting contrast between Carver and Rotary is the absence of trees close to the area, which of course does, you have trees, but not right where we probably need them for shade, so this is really beneficial to us, as well as Rotary has a little pavilion that was part of its original project too. We did completely repaint Carver Recreation for the first time since its construction in 2005, and having new guttering installed, brand new, again, along with the little library since 2005, original to the building. This has all been updated too, so we're proud of that. We did install new countertops in the kitchen, new outdoor restroom facility that Randy's facilities management group did construct, and it looks great and functions and this is a good model. I think you did an identical one at Rotary Park, and both these models work tremendously well in our park system, and I don't think if we can encourage more, and this is a good model to work with right here. New playgrounds and swings installed. We had Civitan and also Carnegie's ongoing. We try to budget $150,000 a year, but we got the end of the season fire sale, so we were able to purchase two for $150,000, but now one actually, just a few years ago, one would cost maybe $80,000. Now you're lucky to get one for $150,000. So we were able to get two at this point in time, so we felt good about that. You're aware of this project, and again, you approved the turf for the exterior rectangle fields. This is an $18.6 million project moving forward, and for completion in June of 2023. And this project is exciting in many ways because it'll bring our capacity for field space at Wing Deer Park from, right now we have 5 diamond fields and 3 rectangles, and this is adding 4 more diamonds and 6 rectangles. So this is a tremendous step forward in our park system, and added another 44 acres to Wing Deer Park. So this is a tremendous opportunity. This is the athletic. Let me go back up at the top. I don't have a little pointer, but up at the top, you can see a little rectangle to the upper left of the parking lot. This is what I'm showing you. This is the athletic complex expansion. This is the officials facility and the maintenance building combined, and this, according to Mr. Ellis, is very unique. Most facilities do not have an accommodation that specifically serves officials with men's and women's support areas. And you say, why is this important? It certainly is important when you're trying to attract tournaments to our area, because when they look at what you have, they just don't look at fields, they look at facilities. And this is a facility, and this is something that many areas do not offer. So this will be a tremendous selling point, we hope, for the future. Athletic facility improvements. You all have committed about $150,000 a year to improve the quality of our fields and our park system. And you approved a bid tonight on seating, if I saw correctly on the agenda. That's a component of this. And this is something that is you spent over $750,000 over the past 5 years in investing in fields. And I would say to you and everybody, if you recall the past and recall today, we're always trying to make improvements, but it's certainly a step forward. So we're very proud of our field conditions, and we appreciate the City Commission's funding of this over the years, as does the public. So this is the Blue Cross Healthy Place at Kiwanis Park. It was funded entirely by Blue Cross Blue Shield. They even gave us $150,000 as part of this for maintenance support. And this said that you were there at the dedication last December, and we, at our own expense, we are now putting some fencing to basically secure the site a little bit better. But it's a popular site, and it's doing very well in a great location, very visible. Right now, we're pressure washing and cleaning, or just finished the Pete Sandus Tennis Center at Liberty Bell. Frankly, we could probably, we're being advised that probably within 2 years, we really need to look at resurfacing this tennis center, but we can get by now for the next 2 years with what we've done now, and it's a good step forward right now. Oh, let me go back real quick to say, Metro Kiwanis is another story, though. That's not on here, but that's going to be something we need to talk about in the next year's budget process. That needs resurfacing 5 courts right now, and we can't seal the cracks anymore. It's just we need to do some rebuilding of that court and really resurface the parking at Metro Kiwanis at the same time. This is what Commissioner Hunter just mentioned about blackout blinds. They're there right now. Looks great. And as well as a Keystone, so we're very proud of this investment too. And this is this again, we were expecting great things for Langston, and as I was talking to the Senator Supervisor the other day, it was dedicated in December 2019, and the pandemic shut. They were barely able to move forward on programming before everything was shut down, before they even had a chance to really get going. So we're moving forward today. Paul Chrisman, we resealed and striped the basketball court. This is one of our smallest parks in the West Davis Park community. It is used, and we do try to keep this in as good shape as possible. So we're proud of that park too. This is the pickleball courts. If you haven't been across the street, please go. The 12 courts. This was funded by the Senior Foundation. We've converted 4 tennis courts that were built in 2012 to 12 pickleball courts. You heard the presentation from Deb Fogel, and if you go over there right now, if I quickly talk and finish, you'll see that the brilliance of the blue, and it's really there's a dedication, I believe, scheduled for next week. So it's a tremendous step forward with a lot of popularity there. So we're proud of that. Programming and events, again, we're really coming back from where we were. And I'm not going to go into each detail, but basically, in athletics, about 2,500 participants. Summer camps, 980 to 1,000 participants. We have these camps, different locations, including Liberty Bell. We have nature camps at different locations as well as at the cabin and Jacobs Nature Park. So we have a lot of different locations. And
Charlie, how many of those are unique? Like, I would imagine some people sign up for more than 1 week of camp. Is there any idea how many unique participants there are?
We have that information. I don't have it here, or I'll be glad to get that to you, though. So that's certainly a good question, Mayor. So, but we're just excited to get back into, again, concert series, attendance, softball, daddy-daughter dance, super spooky. We couldn't do these a year or so ago, and we're back doing them. The tennis camps, youth volleyball, adult softball, men's senior softball, youth softball, and this is a good picture. If you look at some of those faces in there, I'm not sure if you recognize anybody, but I don't think there is anybody that I personally know, but you might. But it's a good group of girls at youth soccer. But
They've got their game face on.
they do. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
They sure do. And youth basketball, we have adult basketball is ongoing. Pine Oaks, again, this is, when you're talking about $1 million budget, the overwhelming response. This is one of the things during the pandemic that everything else was closing down, but golf wasn't. Everything else was tightening up, retracting. Golf was expanding. So we had people seeking outdoor recreation, and look at the revenue, 60% up from the previous year. Number of rounds, 13% up. Merchandise sales, 28% up. Range sales, 12% up. And utilizing new golf shop point of sale system, 4 up that includes online tee times for our customers. And again, to give credit where it's due, people came out, yes, but the staff we have out there working with the Tennessee Golf Foundation, tremendous commitment, trying to be innovative and try to do new things, and I think it proves.
Charlie, go back one.
Sure.
The range sales, that's $5,000 a month. That's what they're making off the range
Yeah.
out there now. So
It's amazing. I mean, it really is. I mean, when you think about the response to that, there was a presentation. You all were there, that it was expected to pay for itself. And it was a conservative estimate. I don't think it was even projected to be quite at $5,000 a month, but it certainly did pay for itself, and it's paying more dividends than anybody. I think we all thought it would do well. We didn't think it would do as well as it certainly has.
But we do need to add netting around it.
Yes.
You ready to talk about that? Did we get the
I think, Randy's been actively working with the structural engineer, so that is an active project, and thank you, because we certainly very much aware of that and keep moving forward. And here, again, the continuing partnership with Tennessee Golf Foundation. What I did reach out to them today, and back to Commissioner Brock's comment, which is getting a little serious here. I said, hey, where are you at? And trying to, obviously they're trying to do some pricing. They did a bid to get a learning center established there at the practice facility. The prices were excessive, so they're trying to rework the numbers and do it again. But they did say, hey, before we move forward, let's get the netting in place so we can have their funding an in-house instructor that will be stationed at Pine Oaks. So we're real excited about that opportunity as well. So we have a variety of programs. PGA Hope is a class free to any veteran. We have Special Olympics class and an introductory class for Special Olympic athletes to receive golf instruction. So we have a variety of programs that are trying to reach out to different groups of folks that traditionally may have been not included or not easily incorporated into the golf community. And I think it's really exciting to see this response. So we're really happy with the partnerships we have, and just excited for the future. Senior Services is another example. They're constantly being innovative, whether it's pickleball, paddles up tournaments, swinging into action golf tournaments. They received reaccreditation. So again, they were the first center in the state of Tennessee accredited in the year 2000. So here we go again. We have continuing reaccreditation, so that's really exciting.
I guess we'll look to the CVB to maybe try to recruit a pickleball tournament here.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And those tournaments right there at that facility, it would be amazing.
It would be, and that's something certainly to keep hoping for. Summer camps, again, we're glad to bring them back this year. That's the most exciting thing about the summer camps. We're certainly trying to keep, we want to bring them back. Now our next goal is to keep growing them. And so have new camps with more people. That's our hope and desire to do. Again, one of the downsides, and you've heard this in talks before, has been staffing for reasons that we can go into an hour-long discussion of why it's been hard to attract temporary personnel. We have raised our wages, but again, some of that, we could have more program, but we need more personnel. And we do have the money budgeted for personnel, we just don't have the personnel. So that's what it comes down to. If we have more personnel, we'll have more summer camps, certainly. And we have a Sprouts All Out participants camp, therapeutic camps. We have creative ideas, and we do have some upcoming projects. Again, one is ongoing right now. If you haven't driven by, I still call it Cardinal Park, TVA Credit Union Park. Look at the outfield wall. It's being replaced as we speak. The Credit Union ballpark bleachers, that will be sandblasted and repainted beginning in the fall to I call it late early winter project. Maybe it may last into March. And we have, and of course, Commissioner Brock, the practice center netting is mentioned again up there. So we do have that. I also want to point out one other thing. This is something you've approved. You approved $300,000 in the budget last year for resurfacing and striping, and I'm reminded to say this, the Sidney Smallwood track at Kermit-Tipton Stadium. This striping was put on today, so it was resurfaced a few weeks back, but the new striping is just put on. And again, this investment, this track, it was, as you remember, last resurfaced in 2010, so this is 12 years. So now it's ready to go again, and we're excited to buy it. In fact, we have just prepped the area for football season, so if you go out there, you'll see not just a nice track, but some good landscaping and maintenance activities there too. So that's not everything we're doing in Park and Recreation. I can go on for another half hour, but I'm not. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to relate this, and I want to just thank our Park and Recreation staff and our park board, and thank all of you for your investment in Park and Recreation, which is certainly paying off. So we appreciate that.
Thank you,
sir.
Charlie.
Are there questions for Mr. Stahl?
I think just a final closing comment for me is we have one of the best parks and recreation and facilities of anywhere. And it's noted when people come into town, and, you know, I guess the one of the things you didn't cover on there is Tannery Knobs, and I know you're thinking about restrooms up there and probably some other maintenance, but
Right.
it's one of a kind place too.
We have so many projects that we haven't talked about tonight too, and we certainly could at a future date if you like.
Do we know when the safety fence is going to be taken down at the outdoor natural play area and replaced with permanent fencing?
Well, that's probably one of an oversight that needs to be reviewed. So yes, I would say something we could look at that now.
The fencing contractor's getting ready to come back. He had to back order some of the netting, so all the framing's in, but the netting's not in, so that's why they still have the safety nets up. But it should be the next couple of weeks
Okay.
before he would like.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Appreciate you all.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks.
Is there anything else?
No, Commission, thank you.
All right, thank you. Turn to Commissioner Murphy first, if he has anything he wishes to share.
Yes, sir, Mayor Wise, thank you for allowing me to go first.
You're welcome.
He can steal our thunder.
I'm going to steal it all. The event yesterday with the Recovery Resources Open House and ribbon cutting was wonderful. They have a great cause in our community. So please do check out Recovery Resources when you do get time. This weekend is the kickoff for Meet the Mountains. If you haven't been to Meet the Mountains, you need to go. It's a wonderful event. I'm also excited about the open house for the model meal. That'll be taking place tomorrow at 3 p.m. So if you got time, check out the model meal and let's support their endeavors. Later tomorrow evening, there will be a remote worker reception at the Bank of Tennessee on State of Franklin. Our remote worker efforts have been very intentional, and we're very appreciative as to those who are relocating to find our community as their home. It's good to see UMOJA here today. I'm excited about that organization and the strides that you guys are taking to move forward. But waking up to an article that I read here recently that we're number 7 top real estate areas in the country. It's good. It's good to know that we are a desired place to live. And it's also good to know that we have people in position to help facilitate the growth that's taking place. And so just lead in that conversation. I'm sure that you all can pick up where I left off, but it's just a good time to be here in Johnson City.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
So I'm on the CVB, and he went through a few of the things I was going to talk about, but that's okay. It's good to let everybody know about those. So 4 of the 5 of us went to the Tennessee Municipal League meeting in Gatlinburg this past weekend and part of the week, and I think learned a lot of good stuff, and hopefully we'll put some stuff into action that we found out about and that we're doing. So it was actually a really good meeting. And if you're not going to the other events tomorrow night, you could go to the Science Hill High School Elizabethan football game. That's at 7:30 tomorrow night. So football officially kicks off tomorrow night. So I'll be busy for the next 10 straight weekend at least. So Friday nights, don't ask me to do anything. I'll be busy. So anyway, thank you.
Commissioner Hunter?
Just to parlay on the TML, it was a good event with some insightful information. A couple of the classes I went to were centered around the census, undercounts, and the fact that 6 states were undercounted during the census, with Tennessee being one of them. In fact, it was the 2nd highest undercounted state in the U.S. and brought up a lot of great points as to some issues that might have caused that I think may have affected our city. And so, if it's okay with the commission and City Manager Ball, I would like to see if we could get some staff to connect with the resources that I or Keisha could give, so that we could kind of research into that to see if there might be some avenues that we may see that count was less than what it should have been, which obviously means more state dollars.
Yeah, it sounds very boring, but I think we decided that each person counted in the census equated to about $10,000 over the decade the census number held. So an undercount is a significant concern.
Yeah, I think in the state of Tennessee, it was nearly 750,000 people that they believe were not counted.
Thank you.
And no announcements for events, but I'll be at some of those this weekend.
Commissioner Brock?
So, Commissioner Murphy, I'm going to turn my calendar over to you and let you keep it for me. That was a great job. I know a couple of things I need to get on there for sure. And I did attend the Recovery House ribbon cutting yesterday, and I was so impressed with the work that they're doing there. It's great, and this young couple who stepped up and really created the organization that is helping folks in long-term recovery is wonderful. So, so I had to dig deep because you covered most everything, but in case you haven't noticed, ETSU is back. So a lot of traffic out by ETSU. Some of the roads are actually kind of blocked off, so be careful as you're going in and around the campus there. But yes, Meet the Mountains is coming up. Hope everybody will take their children, grandchildren, whoever. There's a lot of activities for kids and adults both. Want to thank the CVB. They took the festival over this year and literally had less than 6 months? 6 months ago. And they've really pulled it together. So go down and support that. The last thing on the TML conference, I couldn't help but notice to everything I went, the charts that were up in front of the rooms always had Johnston City on it, particularly on the comptroller's chart. So we're doing things very well here.
In a positive way.
In a very positive way. And some weren't, not for us, but it was great to recognize that and the hard work. I mean, it was really kind of validation for us to think, that we're on the right path for sure. But anyway, it was a good conference, and I learned some stuff. I did attend a session, I think several of us did, on affordable housing, and that is something that everyone is facing. And so we got to hear from other cities about impact and perhaps some things that they're doing. But we have a lot of work in that area, and I think there's a real commitment from this commission that is an undertaking for us.
Is that it? Got to me, and nobody mentioned the Appalachian Fair is next week.
Oh,
so I'm
yeah.
disappointed in all four of you for omiting that from your
You
lists
go
and
flip
leaving me one
hamburgers, don't
thing.
you? That's
next
And
week.
if
We
you
have
want
all
to
the
come to
stuff this weekend.
come to the Rotary Wheel, you'll find me slinging hash. But that's really all I have. So if there's nothing further, this meeting will stand adjourned.
No. It's good to go first.
I think there was just something wrong with the line.
I was ready to.
Did you?
Yeah.
That must be.